up, everybody? Scuff D here. Hang on, it's a glorious day. It's a glorious day. Nice, nicely done. All right, so here's the deal, banana peels. Tuning in here. I'm a few days behind than I wanted to be, but it's been a busy week, busy weekend. Canis Vertex Unleashed continues for another 4 days, and we are in the crux, the critical mass period here. We've got 884,000 points to go in less than 5 days to get Canis Vertex. Some people are questioning, is it possible? Are we going to hit it? We've made a big surge of points here this last unlock bar from Proctor, a little bit before that, all within this last weekend. I think the double ticket weekend may have helped a little bit. I think some players were holding off on playing this weekend. I don't know if we're going to make those points up. We've got some people pushing for it. We just started to do our push here in Trader's End. We're kind of a little bit behind the gun, but we're going to stay in that top 10. Sorry, Russian Lodge and the Brotherhood. We're going to stay in there. That's what's going to happen. It's just going to happen. Disciples Veramin, Los Primericus, Deptus, Astartes. Wow, these are all top lodges here, all putting in points, doing a great job, but it's got to come from lots of other players down here. I mean, guys, if you are in one of these lodges down here, in the top 50 event lodges, and there's way more than 50 event lodges, but I mean, you gotta chuck up just a bit more, you know. I'm not saying, I mean, there's a reason the top 10 are putting in that many, but if this is a group effort, we gotta do it together. So in that regard, in that aspect, I'm going to try to share some information, some strategies, if you will, on some event warlords. Two particular that I've done 12 win runs with. One was an Izzakar Orr. I'll play a couple replays with that to kind of show how he plays. This is going to be a little bit, break it up with Orr, and then I've only got one game because this was early on, and I don't think it's on my roster anymore. I didn't save it. I pre-recorded it, so it'll just be me doing a voiceover of Hathor Maat, which is kind of, the guy's very self-explanatory. You only need to see how he runs and operates one time to see how he works. But Izzakar Orr was a good run. Very hard. Very hard to do. And that last game here, this Canis Vertex, this really irked me because it was that 12 win, that 12th tier Canis Vertex, and that is just a beast of a matchup. So I mean, I'll show that one. I don't know if there's much there's not really much to that game that I can do. Everything went as best as it could possibly go for me, and then towards the end he just edged me out, unfortunately. Let's take a look here at a non-bot game. Got lucky there. My last couple games were against bots. I'll take it. That wasn't a great game. That was a fun little meme game there against Chuckles with Latara Saren. Amon has been playing some Amon. Amon is in the shop. So I'm normally not, and we'll do this one here. This Canis Vertex. This is the 8th win Canis Vertex matchup here. So we'll see how this one fares. And obviously you don't want to start out with a big beefies in your hand. You need units on the board in order to break that shield and make a difference. And then obviously keeping front line is important. The one downside with Izzakar Orr not being Hathor Maat has the ability to just heal, and you'll see that when I break out the Hathor Maat replay, which gives him the opportunity to stay alive much longer in the course of the game. Izzakar Orr doesn't have that. His ability is kind of to recur his troops. Well, that's great, provided that you've got troops that you want to be able to recur, whether it's flankers or Melgator. Melgator makes a great a great one to abuse because it's basically a constant denial of a unit against your opponent's turn. And we'll play a game here, I think, where you'll see that happen 2 or 3 times in a row. In this instance, we're just trying to bait out and draw heat away from Izzakar Orr as long as possible for it to reach into late game. He's got some decent late game units. This deck here that I was running in particular, I forget the name of it. It is, you'll see the pieces to it, and if you can kind of put together, it's the one with Melgator. I don't know what it's called. I really don't. I forget. But between Melgator and there's a Halden's Mortar squad. Jubok is in there, and then there's the Hounds of the Beast of Fyra, which are always nice to have. They work really, really good against a late game Vertex. So here we'll go ahead and we'll start putting the Melgator to use. This is probably just the best play that you can get with Izzakar Orr and Melgator. Just a constant keep my guys alive. There's nothing you're going to be able to do about it. I will always have guys, and you will always be denied one guy each turn. And as it's a bot, the bot doesn't know. When you're facing Canis Vertex, it's hard because a lot of his units are really cheap and it's not worth throwing them down to. But eventually, if you can hold on to Melgator for him to drop these bigger units, then you can begin to make the most of it every turn. And that goes a long, long ways, because the energy that he's spending to deploy those troops, he's not spending to prep his shoulder-mounted weapons. And that helps keep your guys on the ground alive longer, especially in the higher levels when those shoulder-mounted weapons do a lot more damage. And now is a great time for a defensive satellites, I think, is what I'm going to bust out with. You also, in every deck that I've played so far, has got a decent amount of frontline. The Thousand Suns more so, I think, than the Space Wolves decks. But you want to time putting your front line troops down right before the Power Fists are unstunned, because they will 9 times out of 10 attack it directly for that reason, as a bot. So they're going to take more damage. It takes that damage away from your Warlord. It puts damage on those fists, and you use up a front line doing exactly what you want the front line to do. There are very few times where they will not attack your Warlord. Like if they have enough psych or energy, those Power Fists will use their weapon here to deal damage. But generally, the first thing they're blowing all that energy on is on their shield. So they have a very low reservoir of psych or energy. Now, your 12 win, your 12th battle against Canis Vertex, that's where he starts to edge you out. He's got a City of Light. He's got a couple guys that add up psych or energy, and he can really make your day painful and uncomfortable, and it is a pain. It's a pain in the butt. But if you can deny his troops, if you can deny the damage that his fist can do on your troops or on your Warlord, you can begin to edge him out and really make a difference here. One thing that's great in this battle, because the Warlord has got zero attack, is I can use Melgator to pop his shield, and then use Izzakar Orr to bounce Melgator, and then play Melgator again. So as you're seeing here, there's just constant recursion. He can do all he wants against my little low weenies. He's not touching my Warlord here, and that's the AI. That's just learning to play around the AI in this matchup. Now, there's a difference in how you play AI versus how you play another player, obviously. And that's the big thing to keep in mind. If you're playing another player, first off, you're not playing this Titan. You're playing whatever their Warlord ability is. Second off, they're going to get wise the first time you do a Melgator bounce. And if they're smart, they will start to find ways to drop multiple units that you can't touch, or they will force you to play something that you can't Melgator, or force themselves to play something that you can't Melgator, such as a vehicle or a demon, and that's going to help you out a lot. Well, that's going to help them out a lot to avoid that. And as you're seeing here, I mean, there's not many other troops that I want to return to my hand. The Holden's Mortars, I think, is just a one-of in this deck. So his ability is much more for that cycle alone, which is great because it does let me save up my Psyker energy if I'm not using it. So that was the 8th win, Canis Vertex. Yeah, if you can keep your stuff on the board, you can keep your stuff going fine, you will be able to defeat Canis Vertex. I got lucky against this one on the 12th one, and I was able to drop out the Apothecary early on, and he's got precognition, and he was able to heal Hathor Maat for like 4 or 5 turns. But even with that healing, the massive amount of damage, it just was able to clear my board consecutively, and I think it came down to him just having enough Psychic Energy to be able to use his Chain Fist cannon, which does 2 and then 1, or 3 and then 1. It's a cleave, and he cleared out the troop and did the splash damage to best me, unfortunately. But that's what he does. That's what he does. He is a beast. I think the Sun and Muspel game, that one was, I don't know, I'm trying to find a good one here. I think some of them have gotten buried. We'll just go with a non-bot one. I got lucky with some of these bot games. This Tactics Proctor game was good. Izzakar Orr versus Canis Vertex versus bot versus bot versus bot. Well, let's just go ahead and replay this one here. I can't recall much from this game, but again, we'll show off what Izzakar Orr does. We don't want to keep any high costs. Unfortunately, I trade up one high cost for a higher cost. Now, Melgator is good to have, but against a Space Wolf who can have Ward, his uses are a little bit more limited. So I've got to make the most of him. And at the same time, I've got to not be reliant on that strategy going into it. I do want to... Somebody's pinging me for a whole heck of a lot. It must be going on in Discord. There must be something going on. We've got a Lodge Wars battle for 3rd place taking place right now as we so speak, and we are up in the series 1-2-0. So if we take one more win, we have sealed our rank at 3rd place. So here, same unit as before, Melgator, but this is now a player versus an AI, and we're going to bounce that guy, and we're going to return Melgator, and as our opponent should be wise at this point, he's not going to be able to get anything sticking aside from what's got Ward. Dang it. Right? Sure enough. And as you can tell, I don't have any frontline handy to me. So I'm just going to try to bait some stuff out here. I'm going to build up my Psyker Energy, which will be useful at any point down the road. Plus, I want to be able to play Witchfire. And I'm going to have to eat some damage here. It's the nature of the game. However, I still have my Melgator. Next time. Oh, yeah, no problem. So, at this point, it really just comes down to getting the front lines on the board. It's not looking pretty, right? But we know we've got that Witchfire, we've got some front line, we've got some stuff to chew up, and we're going to throw out the big guns here. And we're going to have to really force his hand. Now, I've got enough to throw out with the Witchfire. I'm going to hold on to it because this deck also has Uthazar, which can give that reflection. And it also has the Airman's Cabal, which I don't like as much, but it is a way to get a little bit more replay value. You can put reflection on a Psyker ability if you need to. This game is going to make it where I'm not going to necessarily need to at this point, which is good. And we're going to bait him out. We're going to hit him with the heavy unit, and we're going to tag him with Witchfire. Yeah, we're going to tag him with Witchfire just to help seal it up and make it harder for him. Now, I did not attack him with my guy in the event that he's got something like that right there. Because odds would have been he would have dropped that mortar, could have randomly hit my Warlord, and that would have tied up the game. So, just hold back a little bit. You got to know when to hold him. You got to know when to fold him. So those are the 2 games with Izzakar Orr. He plays completely different than Hathor Maat because you have to know what units you want to bounce. On the plus side, he is able to cycle some stuff. I'm going to record these Lodge War games here in just a second so I can do some replays for Lodge Wars down the road. Whew, we got stuff going all over the place. So, then we got a challenge crate about to open up. Yeah. So that's Izzakar Orr. His style is completely different. He's relying on a few different cards. That deck in particular is reliant on using the Halvin's Mortars, which I only got to work in a couple games. Melgator, which I got to work in more games than usual. And then he falls back on the classic Astral Warfare defensive satellites type tactic. Very solid warlord. You can achieve 12 wins with him. I did. I wish that 12th win would have been against the Canis Vertex, but it was not. But just the same, it's possible. There are bots out there that help when you're playing against a bot, but we've got to get players out here getting these points, because otherwise we're not going to get this Canis Vertex reward. And that's okay. I mean, Tactics Proctor is not a bad reward, and Lucretia has been added to the game. But we do want that. We do want that. So, with Izzakar Orr being highlighted here, I'm going to go in and I'm going to do a replay back of the Hathor Maat game that I was able to record, and try to point out some strategies with that warlord as well for the event. And keep in mind, he plays differently, and more importantly, you have to know when to use his ability to heal certain things, and when to allow yourself to take some damage and stockpile that Psycho energy. Because depending on the deck that you're using, he's got two very good decks, and I think the video I have is of his second deck. Unfortunately, not his first tier deck. His first tier deck is much more straightforward. His second tier deck, you have to be a little bit more selective in how you play it. And I think that'll show in the video, but I'm not 100% certain. Also, I believe that video, I got extremely lucky in like 3 or 4 of the last turns with just like amazing top decking. So there's a lot of fun things to look at in that video, which is why I pinned it. But in order for me to share it and record more things, I had to record it and play it back later, and it took me a few extra days to get to it. So long story short, event, Hathor Maat, let's get it started. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and toss off everything except for that Ashen Blow. The Ashen Blow is actually really good to hold on to. And again, this is the second level tier of the Hathor Maat deck. And this is actually Hathor Maat versus Hathor Maat. And I can tell by the cards that he's already played that he's actually playing the better of the two versions, which I think is, oh gosh, not Beauty and Blood. This one here that I'm playing is Book Defiler. I believe that's what it's called, or Book Deceiver, or something like that. But we're already off not to a fantastic start, because he's just nuked the one card I can put out. I've got, he's got 2 units on the board, but that's why I saved that Ashen Blow, because I knew that he could sink a lot into healing something big or put a bigger thing down, and then I was able to destroy it. So this build particular is, like I said, you got to be a little more selective as far as when you use your ability and when you don't. It really sometimes just comes down to luck. And there was, I think, I ended up doing 11 wins with this deck particular, 12 the book with the other deck name. And I wish I could recall it off the top of my head here to kind of indicate which one it is. But if you're seeing the cards that he's playing, those are the ones that are critical for the top level Hathor Maat, as it were. Book Defiler relies on a little bit more late play with some splash damage, and actually using some Psycho powers a little bit more so than just using his ability. So that's really where the difference kind of comes into play. But he is able to heal, and if he's able to keep, and you're seeing this twice basically, if you're able to keep your units alive and heal your units so your opponent can't even attack them to kill them, that makes it very, very hard for your opponent. And some of the warlords that are being played just cannot recover from that. The Space Wolves have a little bit harder time unless they're able to get some flanking or some direct damage out. And I don't know what the new reinforcements have. Ahriman is not in a good spot. He's not Ahriman, and gosh, who's the other one that they give us? Was the Custodes, right, Shapura, which are both just surprising. Like, really, that's what they're given as reinforcements? I don't know. So we're reaching kind of the late game plays. We both have low cards. He's got a high health troop, and it's really just going to kind of come down to who is going to have the ability to get that pinch play out here. And we're starting to see a little bit of luck on my side, because I would have hit that for just 1 damage. I would have to eat the attack from my Warlord as well. I've got 1 card. He's got 3, and now he's drawing cards, so he is able to kind of stay out there, and edge out the troop that I can keep alive. And those mercs are not to be underestimated. Normally, in a normal game, you let them kill themselves on your turn somehow. You try to force that. But with Matt, he can just heal them and make them a 4/4, or you can give them quick blood and make them a 6/6 and continuously heal them. And you can't get rid of them. You get rid of them, they just go back to your opponent's hand. He plays it again. It's very frustrating. And it really kind of comes down to, how many removal options do you have, which is why Ash and Blow is so important. One thing I did like about the Book Defiler deck is, even though there's Ash and Blow, it had the Book of Magnus, which is not a critical thing to have, but the ability to use those Psyker cards, tank up a little bit more Psyker energy in late game, pull that, play it, get one of those back that you want to use, whether it's Astral Warfare or the Ash and Blow, that really can and does make the difference. So it's not to be underestimated at all. And again, we are at the point now where basically every turn I'm just top decking to see what can I do to stay in there. What does he have? If he doesn't have any Psychic Energy, he doesn't have an Action Blow coming. He can't afford it. He's got 4, but he needs 6. So that gives me a little bit of an edge. I might stay alive a little bit longer. That's what each round is basically doing. Like, how long can I prolong this? And this is probably one of those examples of when the mirror match is just comes down to 1 card. Being able to pull that Izzakar Orr and protect my guys, huge difference. He can still splash damage, he can still do direct damage, but if he doesn't draw the answer to it, then it's good game at this point, because even with a front line, I'm able to bypass that, and he doesn't have the answer. So that is Hathor Maat. Alright, that wraps it up for me. If you liked what you saw, feel free to like and subscribe. Add any comments below. And if you think the video might be useful, or the series might be useful, feel free to share that with other players that you know as well. And we'll talk to you later.